Hello friends, welcome to my channel, The Hindu and Hinduism. Today I am going to debunk some of the lies of Dr. Zakir Naik. I realize that the absconding Dr. Zakir Naik is a liar and a criminal who is fueling communal hatred in India and elsewhere in the world. Muslim rule in India is the blackest chapter of Indian history. British rule was comparatively much better as their supreme concern was economic exploitation. Islamic rule was the worst because the Muslim rulers and their rabid cohorts always focused on forcible capture of Hindu women and girls to make them slaves or sex toys. In addition to greed for wealth, their supreme concern was promoting Islam at the point of the sword. They broke countless Hindu temples and broke the idols in those temples. But Zakir Naik says if it were so, no Hindu temples would exist in India to this day, nor would exist in the country such a vast Hindu population as it is today. It was not the liberal attitude of the Mohammedan rulers, but the inner strength and unmatchable wisdom of our great sages that inspired the Sanatanis to defend and nurture their unique self identity and culture, even at the expense of their lives. No religious text in the whole world can provide you with such sharp and profound insights into the topic of God and spirituality as the Gita and the Vedas do. No country in the world has produced such towering personages as the Buddha, Mahavira, Adi Shankaracharya. To these names, I must add the names of our modern philosophers too. Few are as wise as Ramakrishna Paramahansa, Swami Vivekananda, and Sri Aurobindo. Zakir Naik is too thick headed to realize the fact that the Muslim invaders were limited in their number and they also barely needed economic stability. Had they killed all the Hindus who would have cultivated the agricultural lands in the country, how could they collect revenues from the innocent locals? How could they build roads and mountains? How could they maintain vast standing armies? Hindus in vast numbers would have preferred to die rather than accept an inferior faith of the mindless barbarians and lustful savages who poured into India from the Middle East. So, these murderers, thieves, and robbers allowed the Hindus to practice their own religion and pay them religious taxes like the hated jizya. There are Hindu historians who are perfect traitors and the real enemies of the Indian nation who praise the Muslim rulers on weak and deceptive grounds just to be endeared to the Islamic world? Or are they bribed by the antisocial elements in the country? Are these foolish old men trying to show off as wise scholars? I have a very low opinion of these so called pro Islamic professors of history. So, Zakir Naik, his passionate admirers, and the foolish Hindu historians are requested to realize the opportunistic, narrow mindset of their dearest rulers as to why they allowed the natives to return and practice their own religion and destroy all their temples with the idols in them. The Muslim rulers and their cohorts must have been hopelessly outnumbered by the native population. Had the Muslims destroyed all the famous temples, that must have led to the birth of a radical sense of unity and oneness amongst the native rulers and their subject populations. They were clever enough not to invite troubles and uncalled for problems. But conversion of Hindus into Islam was their supreme goal, which could be achieved by a variety of ways. They did succeed to a noticeable extent using brute force and pious stratagems or noble conspiracies. Jawaharlal Nehru, whose ancestors are said to have been Muslims, wondered how Hinduism managed to survive during centuries of oppressive Islamic rule. He drew the conclusion that there was something very strong and so precious in it that its rulers its followers, not rulers, could not eschew and abandon it. Now, what hurts us Hindus the most is our own brothers, whose ancestors were also our ancestors, are ready to cut our throats. Our own brothers have more respect for places abroad in Saudi Arabia than the holy cities which their own great Hindu ancestors built. Zakir Naik tells people that as, as there are Muslim terrorists, so also are there Hindu terrorists. There are Hindu terrorist organizations like the Maoists, the Ulfas, and the LTT. But are these organizations so passionately motivated by religious fundamentalism as the Muslim organizations are? The names of the Muslim organizations or terror groups represent their fanatical allegiance and attachment to their religion. Another big lie which Zakir Naik repeats is that no other religion except his own says that a man should have only one wife. Both his prophet and the Saudi kings have done considerable justice to this advice of Allah. Muhammad first married a widow who was his mother's age. Next, he married some 8 or 9 wives. The youngest of them was a 9-year-old girl. A Saudi king who is no more has left 30 wives behind him. This is how they are true to the principle of marrying one wife as enjoined by the Quran. How could the king attend to his 30 wives and also to the affairs of administration? These wives appear to have been more slaves and captives than queens. A Saudi woman cannot open a bank account without taking the permission of a male guardian of hers. When she goes out, she has to be accompanied by a male member of her family. She is treated like a commodity and not a human being. Even queens of that country have to experience domestic violence. Their Islamic law doesn't allow women to be treated on par with men. Allah has told them to keep women as second class human citizens. Jai Hind. Thank you for your patient hearing.